Hi, and welcome to another edition of If This Car Could Talk. This week's feature car is actually a truck, a 1973 Chevrolet C10 to be exact, and whose current owner is the son of the gentleman that bought it for his work truck when it was just 3 years old. Stick around and you'll see what a heartwarming and uplifting story this truck has had over the past 4.5 decades, with untold years in the future with the same family.
I'm Cindy. My dad, Don, was the original owner of the truck, and now the truck has been passed on to my brother, Donnie.
Hi, I'm Don Jr. He bought it from, it was 3 years old, and I think it was a mailman that he bought it from, wasn't it a mailman?
I think a mailman too, yes.
But then it was his work truck for forever.
Many years.
No, he was a drywaller. He had a compressor, toolbox, hauled sheetrock. I mean, it was a work truck.
Well, it was originally tan and then primered for many years. He had wrecked the truck many years ago, and it had a salvage title.
Just the bumper.
Yeah, the bumper he had wrecked. It was the bumper.
Somebody ran into the back of it.
And so it had a salvage title, and so my dad bought the truck back. I drove it to high school when it was all primered, and then my mom passed away in 2008. And that was when he decided to fix it up. That was something that she always wanted done. So he ended up fixing it up and made it red. Red was his favorite color.
The whole family worked on it, helped my dad fix it up.
So my dad passed away in 2018, and that is how Donnie inherited his truck, was when he passed away. The truck was passed on to Donnie.
Oh, it was in good shape. What I've done, new door panels, stereo, air conditioning, redo the doors for the rust on the bottom, and then get the seat reupholstered. And then it's pretty much done.
It's Donnie's truck, so he's the one fixing it up and the one driving it, so he gets all the credit for it.
Although General Motors' Chevrolet division had been building trucks since 1918, it was obvious that by the end of the 1950s, the company needed a new designation now to differentiate the standard light-duty two-wheel drive offerings from the ever-growing market segment of light-duty four-wheel drive trucks that were available from the factory since 1957. Beginning in 1960, the two-wheel drive models would be designated by a C, along with the truck's weight capacity. 10 was a half-ton, 20 was a three-quarter ton, and 30 was a one-ton hauler. Along with these identifiers, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80 would now also be seen in their medium and heavy-duty models. There were exceptions to these new model names because Chevrolet and GMC trucks would continue to use and intermingle previous model designations until the end of the 1963 models. Because there are quite a few, and the focus of this video is a brief overall history of trucks from GM, I'll leave it up to you to research those further should you want to do so. Introduced for the first time for the 1960 model year, the CK series was advertised and sold, quite successfully I may add, by Chevrolet to the end of the 2002 model year, and GMC through the 1987 season. After 1989, both divisions also ended the use of these designations for their medium-duty trucks as well. Launched in the fall of 1959, the 1960 trucks not only introduced a new body style, they also featured many innovative design updates, like a teardrop ladder frame, allowing the cab to sit lower, and an independent front suspension for two-wheel drive trucks, giving an almost car-like ride to a pickup. For this introductory year, the C/K trucks were available in smooth-sided or fleet side, or the bulbously fendered step-side versions. GMC called these models wide side and fender side, respectively. Actual badging on Chevrolet trucks carried the series name system from the previous generation for 1960 and 61. The 10, 20, 30, and 40 series, both C and K, were badged as Apaches. Medium-duty 50 and 60 series trucks were badged as Vikings, and the largest heavy-duty 70 and 80 series models were marked as Spartans. Half-ton models were the C10 and K10 long bed and short bed trucks, and the three-quarter ton C20 and K20, as well as the one-ton C30, were also available. The CK series was produced across 4 generations, the first ending production after 1966. The second gen trucks were built, marketed, and sold from 1967 to 1972. Starting in 1973, which coincidentally is the model year of our feature truck this week, this series lasted through 1987, and they are affectionately known by enthusiasts as the square body or box body generation. These particular trucks are gaining a huge and very loyal following because they are readily obtainable at reasonable prices and have an extensive aftermarket and reproduction parts availability. The fourth and final generation endured from 1988 until 2002. A new, more modern-looking truck ushered in the second generation C or K models, beginning in 1967, along with a new nickname, Action Line. It was with this revision of the CK truck that General Motors began to add comfort and convenience items to a vehicle line that had previously been for work purposes only. The majority of 10 series and some 20 series Chevrolet trucks from 1966 to 1972 were equipped with coil spring, trailing arm, rear suspension, which greatly improved the ride over traditional leaf springs. However, the leaf spring rear suspension was still available on these trucks and standard on the 30 series trucks. In 1968, Chevrolet celebrated 50 years of manufacturing trucks, and to commemorate, they released a 50th anniversary package featuring an exclusive white paint scheme. General Motors was now enjoying a huge sales success with the second-gen light-duty truck models. But by the second year of their new design, development of the third-generation trucks began in 1968, with vehicle components undergoing simulated testing on computers before the first prototype trucks were even built for the real-world testing. The redesign was revolutionary in appearance at the time, particularly the cab, departing from the typical American pickup truck design of the era. Aside from being near twins, the Chevrolet and GMC pickup offerings looked like nothing else on the road. Some of the bold and innovative design elements included rounded windshield corners, rounded corners of the cab roof, rounded corner doors, which cut high into the cab roof to eliminate some roof height, slanted front fenders, and rounded pickup box corners, which naturally allowed for rounded wraparound tail lamp assemblies, which would be the first for GMC pickups. The design also featured strong, distinctively curved shoulder lines, which concluded below the belt line. This curved shoulder line would also seamlessly continue across the tailgate on both the Chevrolet Fleetside and GMC Wideside models. All of these design elements still look contemporary today, a sure sign of the timeless design. The famed head of GM's styling department at the time was the incomparable Bill Mitchell. He's credited with many of the most beloved GM offerings since he started his career with the world's largest auto company in 1935. By 1954, Harley Earl, a man who was also legendary in the halls of GM's design studios, promoted Mitchell to head of the styling department. These trucks also became part of his resume, along with many until he retired in 1977. General Motors seemed to be way ahead of their time when they penned these now beloved designs, which beautifully flowed from front to back. Not only were these trucks exclusively and obviously GM products, but they proved to be more aerodynamic than their competitors' trucks as well. This is very interesting because in retrospect, the other major players that were offering pickup trucks at this time didn't seem to put as much emphasis on this ever-important category. Once the 1973 oil embargo brought issues like fuel efficiency to the forefront, every manufacturer had to find ways to increase miles per gallon and to also comply with ever-increasing safety regulations. The General was already ahead of everybody else. Later in the decade, wind tunnel testing technology to make a car and truck more aerodynamic was commonplace among all car makers, both domestic and foreign. In my opinion, one of the most creative innovations from those early wind tunnel experiments was GM's practice of eliminating the radio antenna mast and embedding it in the windshield glass. A rather novel idea, but I'm sure this innovation drastically increased the cost of the windshield and their inevitable replacements after these vehicles were in service. At their debut in the fall of 1972, the third-generation CK series trucks introduced two firsts in safety advancements concerning full-size pickups, and these would later lead to a third safety advancement in 1975. The first was the standard passenger side outside rear view mirror, and the second was the standard use of the energy-absorbing collapsible steering column. Patented a few years earlier by GM and used in its cars since 1967, this column was now standard on all C-Series and K-Series models. The third safety advancement was the introduction of the new dual front lap and shoulder restraint system, where the seatbelts were designed with the emergency locking retractors for both outboard occupants, beginning in the 1976 model year. These highly effective restraints replaced the outdated and inadequate lap belts used previously. Now let's discuss the third-gen trucks, of which Don Drummond's C10 is a charter member, being a 1973 model. The most obvious transformation was to its overall appearance, but these trucks were new under the skin too. The wheelbase was extended to 117.5 inches for the short box models and 131.5 inches for the long bed pickups. A new dual rear wheel option called the Big Dually was introduced on 1-ton pickups, along with new crew cab option on the 164.5-inch wheelbase for this new offering. An optional limit pitch camper was made available for the Big Dually versions. Crew cabs were available on the 1-ton C30 pickup and chassis cab and 3/4-ton K20 chassis cab models in 2 versions, a 3+3 which seated up to 6 occupants, and or the bonus cab, which deleted the rear seat and added secured rear lockable storage space in its place. Steering was now accomplished by utilizing an innovative variable ratio steering box available with or without a hydraulic power assist unit. Braking was immensely improved when all the trucks were outfitted with front wheel disc brakes and conventional finned drum brakes out back. Both Hydro Boost or Vacuum Boost power assist were available to decrease braking effort. Engine choices consisted of already available 6 or 8-cylinder engines, which vary from year to year, backed by either a manual or automatic transmission. C-Series pickups were all standard with independent front suspension. GM's new load control rear suspension system took up residence in the back. The load control rear suspension system consisted of various componentry to increase traction and reduce the dreaded wheel hop experienced when towing a trailer. Towing and payload capacity ratings varied depending on how the trucks were configured. Factors such as the engine and transmission, axle ratio, the truck series, and whether it was 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive were critical to exactly how much the pickup could safely tow or haul. Heavy-duty towing equipment was available for both C and K series pickups, such as the trailering special package, which included power steering, a larger capacity battery and alternator, a 7-pin trailer electrics connector, heavy-duty engine oil and automatic transmission coolers, and a trailer hitch. Inside the cab, safety concerns dictated the liberal use of soft components like a dash pad, steering wheel hub, visors, door panels, and armrests. Beginning in 1977, creature comforts like power windows and door locks were introduced as optional equipment. On the exterior, usual items like grills and mirrors were used for model year upgrades. On the inside, faux wood grain trim yielded to brushed aluminum as some of the more obvious changes. All 1978 models got new, flatter dash trim panels, and fuel doors were added on models equipped with a bed to hide the previously exposed gas caps. The 1979 models got a new grille surround that incorporated the turn signals. Inside, there was a new full-width houndstooth seat trim on base models, and fuel doors were added in 79 to the rest of the lineup. For the 1980 model year, full-time 4-wheel drive was discontinued on K-Series, leaving only conventional 4-wheel drive. Some pickups gained a new grille, others did not. High-trim Chevys had both a new surround that incorporated near-flush square headlights and revised turn signals with a new squarer grille pattern. For 1981, designers completed a typical midlife cosmetic facelift, and a mechanical revamp was hastily completed in response to the most recent 1979 energy crisis. The 1981 rework featured several gas-saving innovations to help make these pickups more fuel efficient. Again, engineers turned to wind tunnels to resculpt the front end with new sheet metal, reducing areas which hindered aerodynamics and caused drag. A sleeker front, ship bow-like look emerged with the front end being gently swept back from the center. New dual-tier halogen headlamps became available with the front deluxe appearance package. A new shift-on-the-move four-wheel drive system with a 2-speed dual-range new process 208 aluminum transfer case was introduced on K-Series pickups for the 1981 model year. It replaced the permanent four-wheel drive system on pre-1980 models. The shift-on-the-move four-wheel drive system featured new components that allowed the truck to be shifted from two-wheel drive to fully locked four-wheel drive at speeds of up to 25 miles an hour. Conventional four-wheel drive was still available with manual locking hubs. The square body generation ultimately ran for lengthy 15 model years, through the end of 1987 model year with the exception of the crew cab, CK30 four-door cab, Blazer, Jimmy, and Suburban versions, which continued up until the 1991 model year. GM ends this generation with 1987 as this was the last year for the conventional regular two-door cabs. The final hurrah for these now legendary trucks lasted through 2002. Although there were many different models in this fourth generation, there weren't technically CK series anymore because the trucks did not display this nomenclature on them. With millions sold during that decade and a half, these trucks continue to attract loyal followers as well as newbies who also love them. With even just a casual glance at Don's 73, it's easy to see why.
It was his.
The memories of our dad.
Many thanks to Don Drummond and his sister Cindy for taking the time to show off his wonderful 1973 Chevy truck to all of my new friends here on YouTube. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss my weekly videos. I also welcome your comments. If you have a vehicle with a fascinating story that you'd like me to showcase, please email me at ifthiscarcouldtalk@gmail.com. Maybe you'll see it here and share your story with the world. Until next time.